Good day, colleagues. My name is Professor Lushola Adu, a lecturer at the University of Fort South Africa. Welcome to another research series episode. Let me say categorically that we are coming gradually to the end of these errors. Today we are looking at errors number 24, which is how to write a good conclusion and recommendation. And we are talking about a good conclusion in a research thesis and dissertation. The conclusion must be concise, must be engaging, must reflect and interpret results, and must be aligned with the objectives of the study and what the study based its analysis and result upon. A good conclusion of a study, colleagues all over the world, as you are listening to me, is not a summary of everything you have written in your thesis. It is an error to think that the conclusion of your thesis or dissertation is summary of everything you have written. No. And you should also note that a good conclusion is not the same thing as a conclusion of an article or paper that you are writing. And permit me to explain some of the things you need to understand when you are writing your conclusion at the last stage of your thesis and dissertation. You can begin your conclusion by restating your research questions or your hypothesis or research objective. You can do that. You can as well start your conclusion by itemizing what your findings are in the previous chapter. By itemizing your findings in the previous chapter. Then you can now base your knowledge of synthesis on that when you are writing the conclusion of your study. Another thing you need to understand is that it is always good to finish your conclusion with a statement of what new issues and questions that you have contributed to the body of knowledge. You can say something that is interesting about what your research is all about. So some authors or some readers may like to look at your contribution to the body of knowledge from the conclusion part of your thesis or dissertation. If your research has a policy or a practice implication, then your conclusion should be able to place this by laying them in details. What policy implications in your study, in your thesis, you have been able to articulate inside your study. So conclusion from a research study can be powerful because they are used to guide practice. Sometimes it is best to do this in a sectional manner or to do it in a way that you write it in a prose form and articulate it very well, and which will subslate itself to your recommendation. So, concerning recommendation, some of the errors researchers are making concerning recommendation is that some of the recommendations are not plausible, they are not realistic, they are not practical. And some of the recommendations are focusing on government alone. No, your recommendation must be aligned with your findings, with the gap that your findings have created and your research is about to fail. So your recommendation must be able to align itself with that, so that when you are giving your recommendation, it should be a practicable recommendations, a recommendation that are realistic, recommendations that can make the readers to see that actually you have contributed to a new body of knowledge. So conclusion is very important, as well as what? The recommendation. In some recommendation, if your study has developed a model, or your study has developed a framework, or your study has developed a conceptual framework, we would like to see them under this section of your thesis and dissertation. Allow me to pause now. Like I told you in my last episode, we are coming to an end gradually. This is the 24th error. The last error is about the references, which I'm going to elucidate when we meet again. Try to log in to the YouTube channel, subscribe, click the bell, so that you can be notified whenever I put up the last section of this research series. And at the same time, after this, we go into another dimension of demystify research phobia. Thank you for listening.